Aloha. Okay, the first question I have, let's see, this is something that came into me today on Facebook, and it's a great question. It says, we are all things, like I'm driving down the highway and I see cars and a road and mountains and sky. I can say I am all of this, that I created / projected this reality. I'm the snot and the bugs and the fist, etc. That's held conceptually at present. It's probably the reason why I asked all of the above stuff, because there's an unwillingness to perceive that or accept that. It's not experiential for me. A car, I'm driving behind it and telling myself that I am that. Weird and rejected. Okay, so the one that feels weird and rejected and wants to reject that idea is the individual sense of self, the false sense of self. All of the stuff that we see in the world, all of the stuff that's projected out into the world is projected by the unconscious or subconscious mind. It's not like there's an individual there making a choice. Oh, I think I'll put a car over there and a mountain over there and fist fight over there. It's just a projection of all the thoughts that have been taken as true. And no one knows how it's going to go or anything like that. And then in the conscious mind, it's being perceived. It's being perceived along with the thoughts and along with the feelings that make it seem so real. It's not so much like it's created as it's made up. It's made up of thought. So everything that we see, everything that we perceive, it's just made of thought. And every time there's a perception and there's an experience of that perception, more thought is added to the subconscious mind. That thought either resonates with love or fear. And if it resonates with fear, of course, there's going to be more projections of conflict. If it resonates with love, then there's going to be more loving projections. So it's not a matter of trying to go, how did I create that over there? It's more a matter of loving whatever's in the experience. And the way that the experience can be loved is to notice that it is all you, but it's not the you that's taken to be you, that false sense of self. It's not like there's somebody designing it like that on purpose. It's just gone into the subconscious mind. It's the idea of separation that can make things in the world look as if they're separate. So when there's a willingness to acknowledge the truth, and that is that nothing is really separate, and the experience that's being had is just an experience of mind. It's not like there's a person in it. It only seems like there's a person in it, and that's due to perception. So, don't know if that cleared anything up for anyone, but if you have any more questions, please raise your hand or write the question down. Other than that, I don't know what to talk about. Who knows? Maybe something will come to mind, though. Okay, I see a hand. Aloha, Michelle.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Hello. I'm turning you up a little bit. Okay, I think I can hear you well now.
Okay,
Let's see.
can you hear me now well?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
Okay. My question is, how do you know that this is a dream?
How do I know? Well, it's an experiential knowledge, I guess you could say. How do I know? I guess I just know. I don't know. I guess I just know.
Is it more like a gut, like just like a knowing, like the sky is blue, you just know it, or did you experience that it's a dream?
You know what? it's always been there. This understanding that it's a dream has always been there. Like I can definitely recall being a child and noticing that. It's sort of like it's really the same like a nocturnal dream, only it feels really real because it keeps on. It seems to be linear. Like you go to sleep and you wake up, and it seems to keep on going and going.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's really just the same as a nocturnal dream, only things don't seem to manifest as quickly. Like I noticed how the energy can shift just by acknowledging what's really going on. That's one way it's easy to tell that it's a dream, because noticing that I'll go into it, like say somebody's projecting some guilt, and then if I take it on, then the way that's going to go is one way. And then if I notice it's really just a dream and it's not anything personal, then that whole thing's going to go a different way, sort of like in a dream. And then I've had some different experiences, like one of which was like a potential rape type experience where the energy started getting heavy like that, and then just noticing this real strong shift in consciousness, like we're not going there, I'm not buying into that, and just watching how everything in the reality shifts.
So it sounds like you have control of how you can have things shift.
Well, there's definitely a full-on overview of your experience, like however things are going to be experienced. So if the thoughts start buying into a fearful reality, then things start going more fearful. That's what I notice. It's not like I can say, I'm going to make this happen, because it's only a perception. It's not like I can say I'm going to make this happen, but I can definitely see how either I'm going to go along with a fearful train of thought, or I'm just not going to buy into that, and then things are going to shift in a different way. And I see that a lot in relationships, especially like when the energy starts going where we start to get into a sort of a argumentative type of state, and then just kind of taking a step back and noticing what's going on, and then things shift like that too.
That kind of reminds me of how everything is thought. So if you're perceiving something to be a bad situation, then all of a sudden you flip it to where it's not. I could see how just your world changes.
Yeah.
It would have to be just your own world that is changing the whole situation.
Well, yes, and the thing is there's no separate minds. All minds are connected, and then love is so much more powerful than fear. So it can look like, okay, it's just happening right here, maybe between two or three or four people, where what could have been a stressful or conflicted situation changed this into a loving exchange, but that's kind of rippling out all over as well.
Mm-hmm. And it's hard for me because the one half has experienced that it must all be a dream because I had a dream within a dream before. So I can't really say what is what. It's just this really long dream. There's a night dream, and then like a nothingness, and then I wake up to this dream. And it can be believed or it can be not believed. I don't know where I was going with it.
Well, you said it seems like part of you
Oh,
believes.
yeah. Yeah, so if it's a dream, then really, how is everyone connected?
Well,
And
okay, go ahead.
yeah, like if it's a dream, how is there really there isn't anyone to be connected.
Well, there's the mind, and there's separate identities in the mind.
Which is the mind is consciousness?
Well, consciousness is in the mind. Consciousness is in the separated mind, actually. The consciousness gives an idea that there is a self that's separate from other selves.
So it's consciousness trying to experience things in all these different forms.
Right, yeah. So the mind's projecting all these different forms, and then there's consciousness that gives the impression that there's a body and there's an individual in a body. So without consciousness, you wouldn't perceive yourself as being in a body, right?
But if it's a dream, there's no consciousness.
Well, there's not any of it. That's an
Yeah,
illusion too.
yeah, that's what I want to get to too.
There's not really any of it. It's just the whole thing is dreamed up. The split mind and everything. It's not really real.
Right.
So
That just
so it's all, yeah, yeah. So it's just a matter of showing that, okay, we can see that there's this projection going on, and now we can identify that there's a projector, even though it's happening in the illusion. We can still identify what's going on in the illusion. And the thing is, it's like to walk out of the illusion requires consciousness, which is also an illusion.
yes.
Yeah, it's like you got
It's
to
like
see
there's this
that.
circle. Yeah, there's like this circle that's continually going around. I can't get out of it. There's no way out. There's nothing I can do because I'm not
It
here.
seems like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
No way
It's like,
out.
yeah, yeah. Well, and one thing that's helpful too is to notice that you're not actually in that circle. You're actually observing the circle, so it can't really touch you.
Yes, I've done of being observer, but there's still an eye that is observing. It still seems there's always an eye that's doing everything, even though the eye is observing. There's still that eye. There's never an eye unless there's sleep and there's nothing. Nothing
Yeah,
exists.
yeah. Well, the easiest way to see and to allow that grace to take away that illusion is forgiveness, which is basically acknowledging the truth in any situation. So that's
And
all there is to do.
and what is the truth? The truth is what's the reality.
Yeah, the reality that we're just speaking about. And see what it is when it comes up as a trigger, like you're in some kind of a situation where the thoughts are getting really heavy. That's where it's the opportunity, and that's where shifts happen, and that's where and when shifts happen, it's like the ego gets a little bit more broken down. It kind of like wears away at ego, wears and dissolves, dissolves, dissolves. And so those are the big opportunities whenever something has got your attention. That's the big opportunity to lay it down, and that's basically forgiveness. Is recognizing, the truth is that what seems to have been done wasn't really done. Like if something hurts your feelings, or it seems like somebody's done something to slight you or something like that. So it's noticing that whatever seems to have been done wasn't really done.
So
That's
when
what's
I
helping.
have addictive, quote unquote, addictive traits, and I feel guilty of doing that,
Yeah.
then what you just is it just is forgiveness just the acceptance of what happened?
Yeah, it's noticing, like in my case, in my own experience, I'll notice that I don't do anything. Okay, there's not an I to do anything. Not even that I don't do anything. That's even a misperception. It's like there's not an I to do anything. So
Right,
then those thoughts that have my attention that feel guilty, they don't have anything to hang on to.
right. So
And so, go ahead.
they're just thoughts that you're not taking as yours. Like there may be a thought that is guilt.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically, this whole perception of a world where there's separate bodies and there's death and all this stuff, it's
Yeah.
completely based on guilt. That's all it is. Or when we're experiencing someone projecting something at us, or we're projecting something at somebody else, that's all guilt, you know. So anytime you see anything like that, just noticing what it is helps a lot, because then you don't have to feed that beast. You don't have to keep on adding thoughts to it. By adding thoughts, I mean you're actually taking these thoughts as being important, as being relevant, and they're not relevant.
So talk more about guilt.
Okay. Well, basically, the split in the mind is a guilty feeling. It's a guilty thought that creates a guilty feeling. That's the whole split in the mind, and that's what created the whole world. It's just like, and okay, remember when I'm talking like this too? Nothing that I say is true.
Right.
Okay, it's all sort of like a pointer. So it's not like something that you're going to prove or anything like that. And it could be said in a lot of different ways. And I'm saying it in this way right now. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
it's like this. It's like there's a guilty thought. There's the thought of separation, and that's the guilt. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because the mind is created whole. There's no separation. There's no separate bodies. There's no problems. There's just love, and it's a joyful, blissful experience. Okay? There's no consciousness that says, I'm this person and you're that person over there. Okay? And then there's this idea, what if there's separation? And then there's forgetting that there isn't separation, and the idea that there's separation, and then all of a sudden there's a world, and there's a separate world. Okay? And
Mm-hmm.
then there's separate bodies. So what keeps this idea that separation is real, and everything else that goes along with it, those are all these consequences that we experience: pain, suffering, illness, death, all that kind of stuff. Okay? No, as long as there's belief in that, it keeps going on and on. And so it's up to basically consciousness to walk itself out. And it's like that can't be done alone, because it's only one mind. And so it doesn't mean you need other people to agree with you or anything like that. It means that the whole world has to be forgiven through your consciousness. When the whole world is forgiven through your consciousness, there's no longer a perception of separation. Even if you happen to be seeing separate bodies, there's no there's no need for being fearful of them, because there's a total experience that they are you. And when they are you and they're allowed to be holy, basically whole, then so are you. It's kind of like
Yeah.
in the Bible, it talks about judge thee not lest you be judged. And that's basically what it is. It's a whole world based on judgment. They're this and I'm this. And however we see other people, that's how we see ourselves. And I'm not talking about on the surface, like I see that person with red hair and therefore I must have red hair. It's not like that.
Right.
It's like you see that person as being guilty, and therefore that's how you feel about yourself, and that's what keeps this sense of separation going.
Mm-hmm. I've had a time where I have imagined that I was everything, and
Okay.
so I got deep into it. Where what if I was the tree in the garbage, and then all of a sudden there was this love and this amazing experience, but I still feel like that was all thought. That was still all imagination. I don't really think it was an experience. I just think it was the mind all flipping around. At the time, I thought it was an experience,
Mhm.
but now I think that it was just thought. So I don't really know what is what. I think everything is thought.
Sure. Yeah, I mean it is. It's all gonna be thought until thought is gone beyond. And there's definitely in my experience been a taste of that. it hasn't been a full-fledged this is this, but enough so where the conviction is there to keep on acknowledging the truth. And what I notice in my experience is as I keep on acknowledging the truth, the conviction about what's true gets stronger. And not only that, everything in my experience becomes more harmonious. So it doesn't really matter what kind of experience you had or didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what matters. What matters is willingness to keep on being present. It's not like you have a big choice in that, because it's like once you've learned a certain degree of what's going on here,
Yeah.
what seems to be going on, it's not like you can just go, oh, I'm just going to forget about that and keep on
No.
pretend like everyone's my adversary and be like this,
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah, so I wouldn't focus a whole bunch on what your experience was or not, because that's just another trick,
Yeah.
and it doesn't really matter. It
Right.
doesn't really matter. Just and the other thing is it's for fun. That's what's so important. It's really for fun, and it's like this whole guilt thing. It's kind of like we forgot to laugh.
Yeah.
You got to laugh at it. And so then when somebody comes up and says something and it triggers something, that's totally what I notice in my experience. If I feel a trigger, it's like in retrospect, I'm like, oh my goodness, I just forgot to laugh,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's really the whole thing.
Yeah. Because I find myself so often taking things so seriously. And
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. That's what's going on. So one thing to just be mindful of is noticing when you're taking anything in the world seriously, because
Hmm.
it's just really not seriously. It's all an invitation to play with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and then
such a
and then
relief to think that too.
I
It's like, oh, yes, this big
I
weight
know.
gone.
Yeah, and a big thing that makes you allowed to play is giving yourself permission in the way of noticing that it doesn't matter how it goes. It
Right.
really doesn't matter how it goes. So then you're not scared what decision anybody is going to make or how they're going to treat you or what they might say about you or what people might think of you or anything like that, because however it goes is exactly how it needs to go in order for your mind to awaken.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I know
Basically,
deep
to the
down,
presence that's
that I do
never.
know deep down that it is all meant to be. I mean, everything that happens it's all there. I don't quite get how it's all written out. And this,
Okay.
but yet it's a dream. So the dream itself was already written out, basically, right?
Well, it's all just thought extrapolating. So it's like okay, at this point in time, the whole future and the whole past is written out at this very moment in time. So if things keep going according to the ego, then it's all written out. It's all the way it's written out. And there's different dimensions that can be shifted. So there's different alternatives to the script.
Uh-huh.
Um, so it's like at this point in time, what's been called the holy instant, which I like that one. The where miracles can happen, and that's basically where you can experience that shift in the body. Like the shift it can actually be experienced right in the body, and that's where the miracle is. It's like where there's this ancient conflict coming up, and there's just this knee-jerk reaction to go along with it, and all of a sudden there's this willingness, and that willingness, it's almost like a leap. It's almost like a okay, I'm not buying into this again. I'm not doing this again. So, just like in a nocturnal dream, where all of a sudden you go, wait a minute, this
Yeah.
isn't. I'm
Yeah.
not going into this. And so
Right.
that's a shift, and that's where the script shifts too. Not all the time. It's not like guaranteed that your whole script is going to shift, but enough of those and then the script could shift like that. And you know, that's not something to be made the goal either. It's kind of like just a side effect.
Right, exactly.
The goal is really peace in the moment.
Yeah, yeah,
And then everything else flows really effortlessly from that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's really all you want is the peace. That, you know, as soon as you start trying to do something to get something, I feel that there isn't peace anymore.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. I see that too. Yes, definitely. Yeah, if I have to have something a certain way,
Yes.
everything changes.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
It
All
can
right.
get so frustrated though, like, you know, if this person is supposed to be in my life, if anybody's supposed to be in my life, they'll be in my life. And
Yeah.
then there's not anybody in my life. So then it can get pretty challenging to
Well,
still accept it.
yeah, it's just all you, and that's what's great. You know, like sometimes I'll have certain experiences with people in my life, and that thought will cross my mind. You know, maybe I should just tell them that I'm done with them. And then
Yeah,
just yeah, yeah, and then just noticing that that's not even necessary. Stuff, you know, something like that isn't even necessary
or
to
I have
say.
done that before, but then they come back again.
Yeah.
So I wasn't right anyway.
Yeah, so it's like the mind does not know what you need. So
No,
it just accept whatever it is, and do your best to acknowledge the truth. That's it. That's all that can be done.
yeah, true.
Thank
Well, thank you.
you too, Michelle.
All
Okay,
right,
I have, yeah, raise your hand again if you like, or else type a question, whatever you feel led to do. I'm happy to
okay,
talk with you.
okay, thank
Okay,
you. Bye.
bye. Okay, I have a question from Lisa. And the question says, what if my mind has gone to fear so often for so many years and manifests so strongly in my body? How can I shift it? I have reactions to chemicals and have found myself in a new apartment that has mold. I want to move out. How do I manifest an apartment that is safe for me, where there is no mold and no chemicals, or few enough chemicals that my body can assimilate? Just from hearing the conversation so far, I feel like I have some catching up to do. I understand the conversation and concepts. Okay, this is a great question. Thank you so much for posing this question, Lisa. Um, okay, fear is manifesting strongly in the body. Yes, that is what happens. And it can manifest as sensitivities to chemicals. And I've had that experience before too. I've had it manifest as sensitivity to food and chemicals. Um, so, in my experience, it's just been a matter of acceptance of wherever I happen to be at the time. There's still an openness to moving or changing if that happens. One thing to notice is that I don't make any choices. I'm not actually choosing where I'm going to live. The only choice I have is whether to follow this thought right now into fear or bring everything back to acknowledging the truth. So noticing that I don't have any choices in the material world opens it up to where I could just experience wherever I am and appreciate that experience. If it seems like there's chemicals or something that is in the external world that's affecting me, and it seems like there's nothing I can do about it at the moment, then that's just where I sit. For one thing, the body isn't real, and it's not going to die or get ill unless that's what's meant to happen too. So there's not a fear-based trying to run away from it, as in feeling victimized, and that's really huge. That's where it really is feeling victimized by something out in the world. I think you'll notice that um, the feeling of anger for these things even being in the world that are affecting the perceived physical body. I mean, that's something that was experienced very strongly from my perspective. It's like, why do I even have to deal with this kind of stuff? Why is it in the world? And really making the world guilty for abusing me like that, for making it, making my body so painful and feel so much pain and so sensitive and everything like that. So it's really a matter of just sitting still and quiet wherever you happen to be and whatever you happen to be with. Also have an experience to share where I live right next to a geothermal plant, and a lot of people say how toxic that is to live next to, and experiencing some thoughts that say that I'm feeling like this because of the geothermal, in the event that I might be experiencing a headache or maybe a sore throat or insomnia or something like that. Insomnia is a great one because everything's quiet. You always just be there with the sensations. And what'll happen, from my perspective, is just this allowing of all of those fearful sensations, because those fearful sensations are manifesting in the body right now as a feeling. So getting in touch with those fearful sensations and allowing the thoughts to float by instead of getting involved in the thoughts, instead of taking the thoughts as true and going along with them and trying to stop whatever it is that's there, is to just experience those sensations. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with moving or taking any preventative measures, or even, maybe calling them up and saying, hey, can you guys like stop doing that, or whatever it is. And whatever manifests on the surface is totally fine. It's just a matter of feeling whatever it is in the body, because it's really a sensation that's happening in the body. And that's another thing about the subconscious mind. It's totally felt in the body. Like every seemingly separate body is the whole universe, basically. So the subconscious mind is a projection of the universe through the body. So in each seemingly individual, there is the universe. So the whole universe is being projected through sensation. It could be said that the universe is like a sound. It's like interpretation of sound, and the body is sort of like the sounding board. So anything that's experienced in the world can be felt in the body. And when that's felt in the body, it's a really good way to tune consciousness in to, this isn't really real, and I don't have to keep on buying it and feeding into this. And that's why the same kind of circumstances keep on happening again. Like if you find yourself sensitive to chemicals and stuff like that, you might move and then find yourself sensitive again wherever you went. And then in relationships, I mean, here's one thing that you can notice all the time. There's this draw to abusive relationships, break up with that relationship, I'm free from that relationship, next relationship, same thing happens again. And that's because it just really hasn't been worked through on the level of mind. And big way to do that, number one is forgiveness. Number two, feeling. I mean, the biggest one is forgiveness, but sometimes it's difficult to forgive if it hasn't really been seen as untrue. And feeling it in the body and noticing, and that's what's going to give you the experience. The experience that it's really a dream is feeling it in the body and seeing how it's manifesting through the body. Okay, I've got another question here from Lisa. This is what has been happening. Oh, that's not really a question. Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Okay. If anyone else would like to talk with me, please raise your hand or ask a question. I can answer your question. Oh, I see something here. A question. Okay. Put that down. Go to question page. Okay. Okay. You're welcome, Lisa. Yeah. son Braun standing next to me if you can see me on camera. And if anyone else has a question, I'd love to speak with you. I'll go and see if I have a question on Facebook over here. I lost connection. Are you still on it? That's the question. All right. Yes. Yes. Thank you. So I'm still here if anyone has a question. Christine, hooray! Let's go to Christine. Hang on, sweetie, I'm on a webinar right now, okay? Aloha, Christine. Aloha, Christine. Oh, your microphone's muted. They've muted their microphone. Oh, now it's back.
There we are. Can you hear me now?
Oh, hooray. There you are.
Aloha, Hope.
Aloha.
So I'm doing better from the other day when we talked. And I don't mean better or worse, but I'm able to be back in the zone of being more the observer. The last couple of days have been uneventful because of that.
Isn't that fun?
I call it drama-free.
Drama-free.
And I had a question too. The first caller was talking about guilt. And, we spoke about that briefly too. And it's really tricky to know when something's coming from guilt or being helpful.
Okay.
Or from a place of, especially with me, like talking to people that I'm supporting. I don't really know what I'm asking. It was a thing that it was a place that I was noticing today around. Okay. My old pattern is, I'm hard on myself, right? So being hard with someone that's in a situation where they're vulnerable and where they're repeating a pattern that's getting them into the same place, and where my stuff comes in, and where is there a way to know whether it's your guilt or if it's just being helpful? Like, have you experienced that? Can you
give me an example?
Okay. So I was talking to someone, and she was caught in a judgment around her mother, and her mother and her ex-husband about their behavior and how it was affecting her children.
Okay.
And I wanted to give advice, because that's what my mother did for me. And there was this, this feeling of I had to take the advice, and if I took the advice, then things would shift.
Okay.
I just answered my own question. Never mind.
Okay. All right. What's the answer? Help everyone out.
So there wouldn't be advice. There would be where's she feeling the sensation? Where's where's what's going on internally within her, not focused on anyone else, right?
Well, the way I experience it is like if there's this need to give advice, like if I experience someone really talking in delusion like that, like somebody outside of their self has some kind of power over them or their kids or anything like that, and this all of a sudden this impulse starts to come up where I just really want to give them some advice, there will just be a tuning into the body and the sensations in my own body, and then just letting the words come as they come instead of trying to give advice, you know, because noticing what wants to try to give advice there. That's
Well,
like
yeah, obviously she was feeling sensation too,
sure,
right?
sure,
So
sure,
holding the space for that,
yeah,
just tuning into her sensation and of course my own sensation. I could have done that at the same time too. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really where empathy comes in, when you just tune in to how it's being felt. Because a lot of the times that need to give advice is sort of like running away from your own sensations, like the feelings that are arising in your body. It's kind of like, stop that feeling by doing this, you know.
Well, that's what I was projecting onto her, what she was doing.
That's perfect. Yeah. Yeah, like one way of seeing it is that anything that happens is all for you.
Of course, I forgot. Right.
Okay. Hold on just a moment because UPS needs a signature. I'll be right back.
Okay.
So, I'm on a webinar right now. Thank you. Okay, I'm back.
Okay, good.
That's funny. I don't have another adult hair, so.
So that scenario it didn't have anything to do with guilt. It just had to do with
Well,
projection and my own sensation.
yeah, well, everything where there's a sense of separation, that's basically guilt, and it's not a need to label it like that or anything. If you, especially if it doesn't resonate for you, it's just a matter of always acknowledging what the truth is. You know, it doesn't really matter whether you label it as anything or anything like that. But you certainly, when you see that something is coming up where there seem to be people outside of you projecting into your world or creating in your world, or someone else is experiencing that and showing you that, basically that's a showing up of that guilty consciousness, because guilty consciousness is afraid of its own guilt. It's afraid of this sense of separation. So it's like it makes this whole world of separate bodies to bury its guilt in the separate bodies, and then show it over there and over there and over there, and all these different things are making me into a victim.
Hmm.
That's all.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm sure your sharing is beautiful. I'm sure your sharing with it is absolutely beautiful.
It's always amazing. It's always amazing. Um,
Yes.
there was one more question within that. Um,
Okay.
um, s- so I'm trying to, also work some of the other principles. And when I find myself more at peace, is that definitely a marker when you know that that you're being more the observer and not? It is peace, right? It's not that
Oh,
peace
of
is the goal, but there is more peace. So I'm headed in the right direction.
course. Well, yes, that sense of health, that sense of self is headed in the right direction where you experience more peace. And you know what? And the thing is that passes too. So it's like this sense of peace could pass, and there could be a sense of non-peace too. And it's a matter of still being okay with it. Because even before that sense of peace or non-peace, you are. So it's a matter of being okay with whatever it is, and you start to see this person that's that seems to be, it's a sense of who you are, experiencing non-peace, and then it's okay. It's also okay that it's not trying to get out of that, and
So, yeah.
that's the underlying piece. But yes, it's like this sense of self has dug this hole in thought, and so it kind of has to climb back out of it. And that's not entirely true either, because it's like grace takes you, but there's this opening up in thought. I mean, for some, I've heard stories. I can't attest to them personally, but I've heard stories of they're way, way deep in the mind, then all of a sudden, boom, the mind's gone. you know. But for the majority of minds, it's like it's almost like it has to be walked back out. It has to be walked back out of it, sort of like unwound or undone like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just and that's great. It's awesome, because for one thing, when there's that undoing, that gradual undoing like that, it's like all of these relationships that are set up, and all of these interactions that are set up between different individuals, seemingly different individuals, it's like these minds meet and heal together. It's like it's all a learning. It's almost like I've heard, and I love this analogy. It's like holding each other's hands and walking each other home like that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yes. Sounds like a Tina Malia song.
Really? I don't even know who that is.
She spends a lot of time on the island. She's a
Oh,
beautiful
fun.
lyricist and chanter and songwriter. Yeah.
Oh, lovely.
Hmm.
All right.
So I realized too that it was my mind looking for something. It was doing it right, right? Because there's peace. So I want to know that I'm doing something right.
Well, that's awesome. And every time there's an acknowledgement of the truth in the moment, that's doing it right.
Okay, good.
That's it. That's all there is to do, really. And it doesn't matter what you happen to be doing on the surface. And yes, you definitely do start to experience more peace. At least that's the way I experience it. I can't speak for anybody else, but that's the way it's experienced here. And it's just, even if there seems to be non-peace, there's still peace. Like, it's okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah. Just that it's all okay, and laying those thoughts down whenever there's that rush of thoughts, like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, or just that chit chat, like, how can they that kind of thing. And so instead of speaking to somebody as if it's true, there's just the laying down of those thoughts. So definitely, noticing certain shifts like that, where you don't have to go and like call someone up and go, what she did to me.
Uh-huh.
Like, acting as if it's true. I mean, you can definitely see certain shifts in your experience like that. Like, there's no need to make drama in a lot of situations. That's how you can see that ego is unraveling.
Okay.
Right?
I can hear it happening, but I'm not following through on it now. So, well, at least, for the last couple of days.
Okay, well, that's okay too.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
it's like even in all of that, you don't have a choice in that. You're always doing the best you can do. The
Yes.
choice is really not what you say, because you can't have a choice in what you say. It's kind of like it says in the Bible, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So you cannot have a choice in what you say. It's all based on whatever thoughts have been taken as important and true. So the choice that you have is in the moment, recognizing what's true, even if a bunch of bullshit is coming out of your mouth. Isn't that great?
Yeah, I know. We've talked about this before, but so I'm not quite sure I buy that. So here's the example. This is what I was thinking of. I was I was going to, I was going to say to this person, I don't think that we should be friends anymore. And,
Great.
uh, but it was like, why would I do that? Because if we're not meant to be friends, it will happen naturally. I don't need to say that.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay. Well,
that's
well,
that's what I'm
whatever you
talking
say
about.
is also.
It's like this. I had that thought, didn't follow through on it, and what did you say after you broke up?
I said whatever you say is also natural.
Now I'm confused.
Oh, you sweetie. Oh, you sweet. What I'm saying is you don't have to control what's going to come out of your mouth. And you can't. That's the thing. So you don't have to try. It's
Okay.
all right it's all right if there was that conversation internally where you thought, maybe I'm going to tell this person I'm not going to be friends with them anymore. I've heard that kind of thought go on in my mind too.
Right.
And maybe you will say to that person we're not going to be friends, and maybe you won't say to that person we're not going to be friends. What's important is you notice that as you recognize the truth, that there's not guilt for yourself. And here's a big one for you, Christine. Don't attempt to evaluate yourself. Don't even attempt to evaluate yourself. There's no need. There's no need to evaluate whether what you did was right or wrong, because that is not where the choice is. You can't choose what you're going to say. So you don't have to evaluate. It all comes down to this instant, right now. What are you seeing? Are your thoughts that are arising in front of you true? If you're evaluating, then you're taking them as true. Because if you're evaluating yourself, then you're saying there's this self that needs to be evaluated. So in that moment,
Yes. Okay. Go ahead. In that moment, finish that thought.
in that moment where the thoughts are rising about evaluating yourself, you could just lay that down. That's a really important piece, because it's like you're trying to evaluate yourself and figure out if you're doing it right or not.
I know.
And that's not relevant. It's not relevant.
Got it.
Okay? In my own experience, lately, within the past couple of years, there's been no need to tell anybody. What is that? Hold on just a second. Low battery on something. There's been no need to tell anybody that I don't want to be their friend, or I'm done with them, or whatever, what have you. There's been no need for that. Is there a problem if that happens? It might happen tomorrow. I don't know. I don't have any control over that. All I know is whatever happens, it's just going to be used for truth. That's it. Whatever it is, whatever I happen to say, whatever I happen to do. If I go into complete delusion and start a fight with somebody, still it's the same. It's not, there's no evaluation. There's no drive to, there's definitely a drive to evaluate. Let me correct that. It's definitely an egocentric drive to evaluate myself. But when in recognizing the truth, that could also be laid down.
Okay.
Alrighty?
I got it. Thank you. Thank you, Hope.
Oh, thank you too. I love you. I'm gonna take Alana now. All right. Let's see if Alana's there. Alana, are you still there? I don't know if you're there. Oh, I think you're coming back though. Yeah, I'm here. Hooray. Okay, you have to turn your microphone on. I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. Am I good?
Hey, there you are, Alana.
Hi.
Beautiful to hear you.
I know, you too. I've been loving that you're doing this. It's awesome.
Oh, thank you. Me too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So my question that I had actually just got answered from your last one, because I was gonna ask how I can project more love into the world rather than having these reactions to people that are seem like I'm annoyed, even though I really just care about them. But I mean, I heard you saying that you don't have a choice in what you say, and it's really just truth in the mind. So I think my question got answered, but I still wanted to say hello and thank you.
Oh, thank you too. I love you, and I appreciate you being mindful about these kinds of things. It's so great.
Yes, I know. I'm gonna be back in Hawaii next week, so hopefully I will run into you or see you. That'd be great.
Oh, well, you don't have to just take a chance on that. You can totally set that up with me if you like.
All right, perfect. I'll send you a message.
All right, lovely. Okay,
Okay.
thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, aloha.
Aloha.
Would anyone else like to ask a question or have any conversation with me or anything? La 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 la. Okay, I'll read something I wrote the other day. See more. Oh, here it is. Big. Wow. This is a note that I wrote on Facebook, and I just would really like to read it because it resonates so strongly. And it's called Invitation to Live Forever. Dear loved one, due to a mistake in thought, you seem to be in a world where pain is normal and death is inevitable. The mistake is not your fault, but because you are perceiving this world of consequences, it has become your responsibility. As long as responsibility is avoided, different interpretations of the same mistake will be given reality through you. But when responsibility is accepted, your thoughts will be guided to correct subconscious perceptions that justify and defend the mistake as they arise in your consciousness. As misperceptions are corrected, your experience of this world will become more peaceful, connected, and fun. Because the mind is shared, corrections made through you open the way for everyone to unlearn the dismal assumptions that hold this death dream in place. Your mind and the collective mind will ultimately be restored to knowledge of the real world, where pain, suffering, death, competition, and fear have no cause. In everlasting love, yourself. So I'd like to leave you with that. Unless someone else would like to put their hand up, I'm going to close out this session and probably see you next week. Usually I go off of requests, so if you'd like to have another Wisdom Dialogues or you see something on my Facebook page that you don't quite understand or maybe have an internal argument with, please feel free to either ask me to have a Wisdom Dialogue session on that post or email me directly. I'm so happy to do it, and I appreciate all of you so much. And until next time, aloha.